for the town council. And I think, is Jim here yet? Jim Broderick?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, there he is. Okay. If I can't see you, I don't know if you're here. First order of business would be to accept, or I would accept a motion to accept the minutes of our April 22nd meeting. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I move to accept the minutes.
And that's with the changes that Kathy put in for Diane.
Right.
Was it Diane?
Yeah, I've got Diane's changes. I have Mike's change,
Yeah.
which was one of Diane's, which I spelled field as filed. And Jim, remind me of yours.
Well, it was that it wasn't. I thought we had discussed about getting the updated detail budgets on the departments that we had identified that we wanted to review further.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
By this meeting.
yeah, I don't have
Okay.
Jim's changes, but I have the other two.
But I mean, that was just a discussion. There was nothing.
Okay.
So I'd be happy to vote on the minutes as they are.
I will make these corrections this afternoon and send them out to everyone with the assumption that we're accepting them right now, just so you have the correct verbiage.
So if there's a motion on the floor, I believe there is, I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Uh,
We'll take a roll call. Diane?
Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
O'Connor? Jim Broderick?
Aye.
Michael Kane?
Yes.
Chris Sonner, yes. Okay. The next item on our agenda would be the continuation of the review and comments on the fiscal 2021 budget request. The one thing that we did not touch on last week at all was the revolving for LCAT. That's a revolving fund, and because it's funded solely from the cable license fees that are received from Charter, I just want to comment it and get it into the record. The total request for this year is $207,483, which is a grand increase of $437.77. So that his total revenue anticipated is going to be $461,938. We really have no control over this budget except for the LCAT commission. I don't know how their function is, but this is all supported through those license fees. So it's just to be noted, part of the expenditure that the town gets involved in.
Christine, I'm sorry, I might have been daydreaming when you were talking that through. It sounded like you said the revenues were 400,000 in the revolving fund, and I thought for some reason you had said the expenses were 200,000 something. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's made up of salaries of $189,083 and non-salary expenses of $18,100.
So the surplus will go and stay in the revolving fund for future obligations?
Right, it would have to be expended for the purposes of LCAT, I believe.
Right.
All right, this is, Chris, we're talking revolving or enterprise?
This is revolving.
Yeah. We've had discussions about excess money in revolving funds.
Yes,
The council sets the limits of expenditure within those accounts, not to exceed. And the balance of the monies continue to ride in those accounts. But the council can move monies from any account that it sees fit to put into the general fund to pay for other services. I'm not
Yeah.
saying we take everything, but there's an opportunity here, as there has been in past years, that was overlooked, to remove some of these funds, and it could be substantial, like it is here.
You know, I think I gave this a misnomer because on the very last page of the itemized budget, it calls it an LCAT enterprise fund. And we appropriate the purpose this year, or I'm assuming it's for this year. It's not entirely clear. That what I have here is the format for a vote. Move that 230,000 be appropriated for the LCAT Enterprise Fund, and that zero, excuse me, and that zero be included in appropriations from the general fund for indirect costs and be allocated to the LCAT Enterprise Fund for funding. And that it looks like $230,000 be raised as follows. So it states, I don't know if Sarah had prepared this, because I have for 2021 total enterprise fund expenses, 184,966. And then the total LCAT enterprise fund revenues shows it within brackets as a minus 230,000. So it balances out.
Christine,
Does not agree with the front sheet at all.
if you would like, Don Mackey is in the audience. I can promote him and he can explain the revolving fund a little, or the enterprise fund a little deeper.
That would be very helpful, Ryan. Thank you.
Sure. Hold on one second. I'm going to promote him right now. He's connecting. There he is.
Morning, Don.
Hi, Don.
We're not getting audio from you, Don.
Yeah.
Looks like he's working on fixing his audio. Can't hear you, Don. If you got, just make sure you get the right microphone selected in the Zoom client.
Try that. That better?
There you are.
All
I
right.
can hear.
So to clarify, sorry about the light.
It's like he's in video production or something.
So it is an enterprise fund.
Yes.
So I was trying to reach out to Ryan, Christine, when you were talking a little bit. So I think he did realize that it was an enterprise fund rather than a revolving fund.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess maybe the easier thing is to just have you ask the specific questions
Okay.
about the budget.
I feel as though I'm shortchanging my committee because I have a copy. I'm not sure if they had, it really wasn't on the agenda. I just wanted to make sure we didn't overlook your budget.
Right.
What I have from you is a total request. Let's see, your grand total expenses for the coming year for FY21 is $207,483 and a penny.
Yes.
Chris, could you repeat that again? 207,833.
No, 207,483.01.
Thank you.
Okay, I actually have on the budget that I submitted 207,045.24, but I did not in what I have Sarah has to calculate the actual benefit costs because
Okay,
they are benefits out of this fund. And I'm not able to do all those calculations. So that would account for probably for the additional $400 or three something, whatever it is.
yeah, it's $437.77 was the increase. And I think that's because in the part-time salaries, there were some increases. Might be-
No, there wouldn't be any increases in the part-time. But I believe that that the increase would be in the benefit cost.
It's because of the change in the minimum wage.
I built that in.
Okay,
In either case, and again, I can't clarify for you. I know when I submitted the budget and I met with Mary and Sarah way at the beginning, the question was, Sarah had to calculate the benefits based on the salaries that I submitted.
okay,
And so that number in my submission was inaccurate. The one you have, I'm just explaining why I have a different number than you do.
sure.
I'm trusting that the number you have is accurate.
I'm trusting that as well, Don. This is on the actual format of the budget request. What is confusing me is the last sheet
Yes,
that's attached to your budget, which is the actual motion to appropriate the money to the enterprise fund. And to clarify that the monies did not come from the general fund. But what's confusing me is that the fund expenses that show here is personal services, 189,383 with operating expenses. Do you want me to repeat that number?
No, I'm good. Well, yes, do it again, please. I'm getting lost here in the weeds.
Yeah. 189,383 are the personal services. The operating expenses are 18,100.
yeah,
Under budget surplus, she has a minus 22,517, which brings the total LCAT enterprise fund expenses to 184,966 for fiscal 2021.
That's page 213 for anybody that has their hard copy
Yes, thank you.
with
ma'am.
them.
Thank you.
And it's handwritten at the bottom of the page in the lower right-hand corner.
Right.
Yes.
okay, so I obviously don't have anything that's handwritten there, so.
Okay. So you may not have this sheet, Don.
I
This
do not
may
have that
be-
sheet. I do
Okay.
not have that
Well,
sheet.
it
That
was,
must be preparation
it's got
for
your-
presenting to the council.
For clarification purposes, it looks like this was dated 12/26 and 19.
Yeah, at the
That helps.
top, I can barely make that out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
that's,
The fact- the
yeah,
fact
that's-
remains,
is that signed by me? Does that have the signature at the top?
it
looks
does.
as though it
Okay.
does.
Okay. But
So-
any notation that Sarah made on that after the fact, I don't have a copy of that back.
Okay, very good. The bottom line is, it's an enterprise fund.
Correct.
The revenues that are raised are used to support the
Correct.
activities of that enterprise.
Correct.
So we're all good, Don.
I know that it used to be a revolving fund, but that was changed a couple of years ago.
Very good.
So, Chris,
Yes.
this is Jim. Just so
Yeah.
I'm clear, so the projected revenues for 2021 for the enterprise fund, Don, shows like it's 230,000.
Yes,
So it's basically, enough with a little bit of surplus
correct.
to cover expenses, but it's not, okay, because we were looking at something that had a number of 400,000 for potential revenue, and that's what caused my question in terms.
I understand, Jim, and I heard that question, and that is the actual balance so those are the retained earnings in the enterprise
All right.
fund. You
So
recall
that's
that?
balance in the fund. All right.
Yeah, so that's,
Okay.
So, Don, I have a question for you.
yes, sir.
So, out of the enterprise, you're paying the salaries and the OPEB?
Well, I'm paying the benefit costs. So I'm paying insurance, health insurance, retirement,
Workers' comp,
workers' comp, right.
yeah.
So just one last question, Chris, for Don, if I may. So Don, the 400,000 that's in the enterprise fund in terms of a balance, do you have that earmarked for like future capital expenditures, equipment
Yeah.
replacement, or
Yes.
is it just kind of sitting there?
No, I have it earmarked because, and maybe the council will remember, or those members from the council remember last year when we had this conversation. It's always been, the cable industry is in sort of flux,
Yeah,
shall we say? And the nature of that is changing. So we've, for as long as I've been here or shortly after, and certainly by the time we went into the enterprise fund, anticipated trying to have at least a year, ideally 2 years of operating revenue in that fund if the cable television or public access component of cable television goes away. So if the cable licensing is eliminated because all of TV content goes over to the internet rather than cable television as a regulated part of
It's
that.
kind of like a transition cushion.
The other aspect of it is when I came on, there was a $500,000 balance in that account, and that's what we used actually to build a studio here at the high school. With a new high school project somewhere in the future, the question of where does the cost, if that has to happen, then becomes a new high school and a new studio. How does that get paid for?
Okay.
So that's always been my goal, is to make sure that one or both of those things at least have a reasonable amount of money to start with, because I don't think starting from scratch would be a viable option for the town.
All right. Thank you, Don.
good answer, Don. Thank you very much. Okay, you can go back to the audience now if Ryan lets you.
He's clear.
Okay. We were going to go over, I don't know if you want to continue and decide at this point in time. I think it was item number 7 on our agenda. If you would agree to move on that one, I would like to know from the committee which department head they would like to speak with at our next meeting, which will be next Wednesday. We've got quite a few that have been labeled. Where's my paper? For further discussion. The first one we had labeled was the account number 145, which was the collector treasurer. Legal services, I don't think there's any point at this point in time. Human resources, or would you prefer to talk to, for instance, the health department, to talk to Amy, and maybe we can find out at the same time about the request for the Allen Street landfill?
That would be fine, Chris, from my vantage.
I think starting with the health department might be a good place too, because I don't think any of the information as time goes on is really going to change that much at this point.
Right. All right, then why don't we plan on inviting Amy to our next meeting, which will be May 6th, I believe.
Mhm.
All right, that takes care of that. So are we ready to look at?
Chris, could I just interject? Amy typically has state DPH meetings on Wednesday mornings at 11. So maybe if she is available next Wednesday, she could be taken
Right
off
away.
the top? Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's fair.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Chris, are we looking to have more than one department here at the time?
What's your pleasure?
Well, I think I'd like to look at, Mary can probably answer the question with regards to her intentions with HR and potential savings we have now or the costs we're going to incur. I don't know if that's a discussion we can have with her in the future or do it now. The same with DPW. I'd like to see DPW since they're a big component of this budget.
DPW is
I'm
a
sure Bruce, I'm sorry, I spoke over you. I'm sure Bruce will be available. I don't think he's got any conflicts on Wednesday mornings.
Could I jump in, excuse me, a minute and just mention that next Wednesday, I have a conflict with my mom and needing to be at an appointment. So I won't be at the meeting and we'll need someone to be the note taker. But I would respectfully ask that we hold off on bringing in the school department on next Wednesday. I'd prefer to be present for that.
and
So
I agree.
Could
And I
put
think,
that off to the, like 2 weeks from now.
yeah, I think we agreed last week that we wouldn't have any discussion with the school department till the end of May.
Okay, that's even better.
To bring you up to date on some of my research, the information I received from the Department of Education is that they will probably not have numbers on state aid and foundation budgets until the fall. So perhaps even the end of May is going to be premature with the school. I think we have a clear understanding of what they are looking for. They said that what they presented was a level funded budget, even though it went up 4.45% and includes 2 new hires. So I think we'd be in a better position to put that off as far in the future as we can.
Fair enough.
Y'all agree?
I would
Yes.
agree. Myself and Kathy attended their school committee meeting on Monday night, and we have information, and I think we're all on the same page. The further we push that out, the information that we have will become more accurate and enable us to better be informed to make the right decisions.
Right. I
Agree.
noted this morning in the news that one of our surrounding communities is already cutting teachers. So I think rather than jump to something as far as trying to settle a budget at this point in time is just risky. So let's do that. I really, I take your comment, Tom, about bringing in DPW, but that's one of our largest budgets. And I think we'd be smarter off to resolve some of these smaller budgets and then perhaps in the month of June, really tackle the bigger budgets, public safety, public works, and the school department, and know that these other issues are resolved.
Yeah, I mean, we can start at the small and work up. We've got some time. Fortunately, we have time on our side with regards to our ability to move the budget setting process off until late summer with the
Yes.
governor's directive.
Yes, I
So-
agree.
The longer we can go on, the better, as Mike pointed out, the more informed decisions we can make, because we'll know what our income is going to be.
Yes, yes, I agree. And I think once the bills go out, the real estate tax bills go out at the end of June for collection for August 1st, I think that we'll have a much better idea what the cash flow is going to be. Because that right now, as Diane had told us before, people pay an escrow account with their mortgages. However, three months in to this pandemic and people working from home and people not working, I think it'll be more telling at that point in time.
Yeah, I think that was a conversation, or that was a comment that I believe it was Kathy made a few weeks back where you mentioned that there really wouldn't be any decisions made until like the third quarter
Yes,
with regards to the schools.
yeah. Yeah. So we had, We
Just
had-
a question, Chris.
sure,
In regard to the pushing off of the time to finalize a recommended budget, should we target a date for when we want to be at a place that we could recommend a budget to the town council? I mean, in light of this, kind of delayed schedule, I'm just wondering, to me, it's always hard when I don't know when I have to get something done.
yeah.
How to like place things in between.
Yeah, I understand, and you bring up a very valid point. The council's going to have to decide, I believe, in June to take advantage of, or either the council or Mary or the two jointly, to do the 1/12 budget for July. I
Right.
would think that at that point in time, if that's decided in early June, we should try to have the bulk of the budget resolved by the end of June, and then figure that the finalized budget may not be until August or September because of the school monies. I don't know. Does that sound reasonable, folks?
It
I-
certainly does to me, that budget being 55% of the entire budget, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think the further we can move this, the better off we'll be, but I agree with Jim. I like to work with deadlines as well. I think if we have something like a discussion on, set a draft or a tentative budget by the end of August, that would probably give us something to work with. And in the meantime, have the council decide on whether we work on the 1/12 budgets for the next period of time over 3 months.
So I know we have three members of the town council on this committee, but is it something we might want to consider sending to them or communicating to them a revised schedule, to kind of get their buy-in to the delaying it as a result of all the uncertainties with the coronavirus? Just because right now we're under a charter that says we got to do things in these timeframes. And I know we're a committee of the town council. Does it make any sense for us to perhaps communicate what we would propose as a revised schedule to bring them a budget, just to get some kind of consensus that's okay with them too? I'm just throwing it out there.
Yes, Jim, I think that's a good move. I would say our next meeting is Tuesday, the 12th of May. It might be helpful for Chris and you, if you, well, it'll still be Zoom, so just to join the panel to make that recommendation to us. And we can take a vote to agree to that or disagree. I imagine it'll be an assenting vote, as well as make note that the charter holds us to certain language, but the governor's executive orders have, Mary, jump in here as the attorney. I don't want to use the wrong wording, but the executive order has a higher level of authority than the charter, or no?
Well, I don't know that I'd characterize it that way, but I do think it allows us to relax the burdens of the charter and the deadlines therein based on the declared state of emergency, both in the Commonwealth as well as in the community of East Long Meadow. So that's how I would couch it to the council, just to
Okay.
take advantage of that.
But yes.
I think it supersedes it, yes, at least under the
That's what I should
circumstances.
say, supersedes. But I think we should be officially on record as articulating that, because many of the public may not have caught that in the news and will be looking for a product. If they hold the charter and wave that at us, you know.
Well, my
they-
only concern, I'm sorry, Kath.
No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't feel any comfort level that we'll have a confidence in a revenue stream by June or August, or perhaps even September. I mean, there's no House budget yet. And yesterday on the statewide conference call that I referenced last night at the council meeting, the Division of Local Services offered no guidance. I mean, several questions were asked about deadlines, about Chapter 70 funding, about what happens if this and what happens if that. And there are no answers yet. And that's been the case for quite some time. So I think everyone's hopeful that the release or the partial lessening or relaxation of the business closures and so forth will alleviate some of the revenue, but I think everyone is taking a very cautious approach in terms of what kind of revenue we're going to generate. So I'm hesitant about any budget figures. I mean, we can pare the budget down to the bare bones, which we are doing, and it still may not be enough. How's that for optimism?
Well, we thank you for that.
Reality.
It's reality.
It is.
If I can jump in again, I'm thinking now, I've got my principal hat back on. Clearly, and the school side understands this to be true as well, we may get to the end of August and still not have solid numbers from Boston. But as it relates to the opening of a school year, also with the presumption that we could open in some format, I would want to know how many staff members I have to carry off my actual programs. So it would strike me that in concert with the school side, we have to try to give them some sort of semi-solid number, if you will, I'm making words up as we go here, so they can plan what their staff profile looks like. And that the thought being, if we were to say, you know, here's a dollar amount, and it would result in, once they look at how they could play it out, I'm making this up, so if folks are listening in, this is just an example. Let's say that the number results in their needing to trim a dozen staff members. They would want to know that going into September 1st, so they can plan accordingly. Now, if the numbers from the state level come back much more optimistic in September and October, they can build staff back in. But I know the anxiety that will go into the reverse model, where we give them a number and they build a staffing profile, and then we end up with a pessimistic outlook, and they have to immediately reduce force, and that just will, you know, throw all their programs back into the state of frenzy. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
It does to me.
Yes. It does to me as well.
I have just to follow on that point, by not making a budget, we kind of make our decisions and have made a budget because we're authorized to spend 1/12 of last year's budget each month. So the further we go along trying to make a budget, but using the old year's budget, we're kind of handicapping ourselves if we do have to finally, when we make a budget, adjust it. I would kind of think that, you know, I know that every budget, there's some uncertainty. This one, much higher level of uncertainty in terms of revenues. But I would think that we'd still be better off perhaps making our best stab at the revenues based on what we know, at least have a game plan based on the best that we know at that time. And then if it gets worse or it gets better, you know, if it gets worse, we have to come back, but I hope everybody would understand that we would have to come back, if the numbers were terribly worse or much different. But I would be hesitant to, wait beyond September or whatever, only because by then we will have done like 3 months of the 112 budget. We'll still have to figure out what to do. We might be 6 months through before we actually finish a budget for 2021. Whereas if we just give it our best shot, I don't know, it's really is a shot in the dark, but we never know all our numbers. But I think our best guess would be better than leaving at the 112 and knowing that we'll probably have to come back to the council and the school committee and whatever to adjust when we know more about what the heck's going on. That's just my thought.
Yeah, if I might, I just got a text message that the state has just released a notice that the Senate and the House may do a joint recommendation on the budget. Likely will be that the state itself will use the 1/12 budget for the beginning of fiscal 21. The hard copy of that is on its way to me. So that probably takes care of July anyway. And the good news out of that release is that they do not anticipate reducing, I'm assuming it means local aid based on the budget from fiscal 20. When I get more information, obviously I'll share it with you.
Oh, Mary, of concern to me was an article that was in Sunday's paper where the Springfield Finance Director, TJ, said that he was advised to reduce his projections on unrestricted aid by 14% in formulating the F21 budget for Springfield. So, and of course, it's about the only thing that's unrestricted is local aid on our cherry sheet.
Yes, I saw that article too.
Yeah, I'm wondering where he got his info. I don't think he would have said it without talking to somebody either in the Department of Revenue or.
Yes.
What's still in flux.
I'm certain he has a basis, obviously, for that announcement and that caution. And I can be in touch with some people in the finance offices in Springfield to just see what we can determine the background for that might be.
Yeah. And last year we got, about 1.4 million in local aid. So if that was reduced by 14%, we're looking at what? Maybe a reduction of 180,000.
200,000 anyway.
Yeah. So when is the best date? If you would like us, Kathy, to advise the council of the status of scheduling on this budget.
I would do it at the next meeting, Chris, on the 12th.
Yeah, would
To
you?
get it out there in front of
All
everyone.
right, would you want that in writing in a letter to the council and town manager, or would you want us to participate in the Zoom meeting?
Is it too much? I would like you to participate in the Zoom meeting if it's not too much, because the council, other counselors may have questions, and certainly something in writing of something brief as backup information for our packets.
Okay, and could Jim participate with me?
Of
as
course.
well? Yeah, all right, I would like Jim to participate. Are you going to be available?
I believe so, Chris. I'll just double check.
Yeah. Okay, what's the date of that meeting? May
5/12, May 12th.
May 12th. Okay.
And it's so early out, we could arrange you on the agenda for a time.
We'll put you right at the top if you
Yeah,
want.
I'm available.
Okay, you still
Did
starting
we-
around 6 o'clock, or are you starting earlier?
No, I imagine 6.
Okay, very good. All right, I'll pencil that in. Okay, the other item on our agenda was to take a quick look at the summary on the the capital projects for this coming year. And this is just simply a quick review, finding out what has been requested. And because I understand that the capital projects committee is starting to work.
We have our first, well, I'll let Ryan
May
speak.
6th.
Is Ryan able to weigh in on that right now?
Sure. Yeah. We got. I sent out homework to all the capital committee members to go through the projects, kind of just give them a quick overview of their merit, and put them into categories. So the capital committee procedure that we follow is we have a couple different classifications of each project, like what it affects, resident quality of life, capital infrastructure maintenance. So we go through and categorize every project with those traits.
Mhm.
From there, we break it down into groups. And then from the groups, we then prioritize within those groups. Just makes it a lot easier to break it down that way. So they do have that homework for that first round, and we are meeting Monday morning at 10 a.m., which will be a public meeting, much as these are.
Ryan, if you wouldn't mind, just so I can add this into the minutes, tell me who you have on your committee, please.
Sure. It's myself, Bruce Fenney. He was on the capital committee previously, as well as Tom, Mike, and Jim Broderick.
Great.
Yeah. If I can, Ryan, I'd like to just point out, I love to see that you came back to the home ground on the formatting.
Yeah, I know you like
The
those.
capital, so we have some consistency from previous years as to how the information is presented, so we don't have to deal. Now, this is by no means any reflection on Mary, because this came from finance in the past, and we're moving away from what's always worked for us in the past to a new format, which it changes things. And as far as that goes, you have to keep going back and forth between forms to try to figure out what happened in a previous document. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, of course.
If I could just add something, in recognition of the Ryan's chairmanship of that committee, I deferred to him as to whom he wanted to have on the committee. And then subsequent to his formation of the committee, the school committee referenced an interest in having a member on it. I did talk to Ryan about that, and we decided together that Bruce Fenney's position on the capital rating committee would be sufficient, because Bruce's department does the bidding and the projects, all the procurement and so forth for infrastructure repairs to the school buildings and whatnot. And I'm happy to have Greg Thompson or any other member of the school committee weigh in with their interests or their concerns through Bruce to Ryan's committee. So I just wanted to make it clear that we didn't ignore the school committee on purpose. We had just started to form this committee already, and we want to get moving on it. But we certainly want to hear their input.
Yeah, Mary, just for historical information, the school committee has never been representative on the Capitol, but they've been brought in on several occasions to discuss their projects, and Bruce has always been at the right hand of Gordon when they've done this, or the previous board.
Yeah.
So they do have input, and Bruce is a viable source for them to get that input.
Yes. No, I appreciate that, Tom, and thank you for that. I guess I just wanted to make it clear in case any of the school committee members were wondering why they mentioned that Monday at their meeting and then we didn't act on it, but we did have conversation about it.
And if I can just jump in and add to that, given their MSBA project, right now it's still on schedule. And by that I mean there's certain prescribed deadlines that their application must adhere to. And one is that 270 days from entering the eligibility period would be, which would be, they'll enter the eligibility round on June 1. 270 days hence, they would the applicant needs to be prepared to say they've secured the funding necessary for the feasibility study, which will be 1.2 million. Now, if MSBA relaxes their deadlines, and it appears that they're willing to cooperate with all districts, that could go out 2, 3, 4, who knows, however many months, but somewhere within FY21 will be the school committee coming before the council to say we need a commitment to 1.2 million. So we discussed, how does that play out? Should it be a capital issue? Should it be partially funded with free cash? Should it be total debt exclusion? But so all those things are on the table. But what I'm speaking about now, I'm sure will come up through Gordon and the committee via Bruce, but that's out there as well. That's a
Okay.
big bite. I mean, of course, we knew this going in, but it's in a fiscal year. It's the perfect storm with decreased revenues.
Indeed.
Through the chair, Kathy, could I ask you a question regarding the 1.2?
Yeah, but Chris, it's Chris the chair. I'm just the.
I meant, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you can ask her.
Too many chairs in this room right now. My question is, do you have any feeling for if the town was to accept the 1.2 million, is any of that money, are we able to get any of that money back to any kind of grant? And what would you take a shot at any kind of percentage of it? Because it does correlate into this budget, I believe.
My understanding is that whatever it has to be fronted, if you will, by a municipality to get the feasibility done is included in the reimbursement cost to the town. Now, we, in our accelerated repair projects at Maple Shade and Meadowbrook, our reimbursement rate for those projects that are ongoing is 55%. That could all change, and that's entirely up to the MSBA, and certainly their revenues will be decreased too because their funding is connected to the sales tax. So the answer is twofold. Yes, 1.2 will get reimbursed. At what rate, 55 or lower, it remains to be seen.
So if it was 55%, we'd be looking at about $660,000. So we'd still have
that we would have to be net out of pocket, right?
Right. So the other would come out of the taxpayer's pocket.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take a quick look at the projects that were submitted for consideration this year by the different departments. I'm just going to go through them quickly. Planning had asked that we provide a master plan consultant, and the amount requested was $62,500, which was going to be split into 2 parts. At this point in time, we do not have a planner in-house, so I'm not going to refer to the town manager's recommendations on these at all. The health department is the next one. In conversation with the Department of Environmental Protection, it has to do with the Allen Street landfill closure. There's a $150,000 appropriation requested to start something on that project. The health department also asked for a methane extraction system upgrade. I would think that it has to do perhaps also with the Allen Street. So that's considered a miscellaneous request to the tune of $319,500. Fire department has 2 requests, and those are the payments that are due, which we have bonded for and are indebted to. So these are kind of legal obligations. The ladder truck payment of $214,787, and the ambulance lease for a second year of $135,775. Those 2 combined $350,560. The next request is from Information Technology, student Chromebook replacements, firewall upgrades, server upgrades, equipment replacements, mostly desktops, staff MacBook replacements, student iPad replacements, permitting software replacement, server room relocation, and building automation upgrades. These have all been prioritized by the Director of IT, and grand total is $824,141. Police have requested 2 cruisers. I think this one is one that we could question because we appropriated money last year. The requested amount is $94,000. And from what I understand, the cruisers were not purchased in fiscal 2020. I don't know if it still could happen, but probably the cost has gone up. So that, I think, is something I'm sure after the Capital Projects Committee looks at it, we'll probably have a better answer to that. Recreation, they wanted recreation renovation at $20,600, and Pine Knoll Sport Court paving for $30,900, which came to a total of $51,500 for recreation.
Chris,
Yes.
Chris, I can tell you that $20,000 renovation at rec has been completed. You can take that off the list. DPW was able to get some extremely discounted pricing, and they completed that project for about $5,000. So
Wow.
it's done.
Mary,
That kind of news, Mary.
yeah,
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
yeah, Chris,
Yes.
if I may ask Mary a question. So the recreation renovation was something that the capital project funded. I think, if I remember correctly, it was $80,000 for the renovation of that building last year, I believe it was last year.
I think you're referring to Pine Knoll, Tom?
Yes.
No. My comment there, the $20,000 project was to renovate their offices that are within the senior center.
Oh, the COA. Okay.
Yes, and that has been done. That 20,000 shrank to 5 because they had a generous donation of excess carpet from a local retailer.
Oh, nice.
And anyway, they finished the project, and the total cost was around 5. So I don't.
Thank you.
The Pine Knoll is separate.
Okay. So
Okay.
So that adjusts their request for that. So the only thing remaining is the sports court paving, which I believe is the tennis courts up there. And so that's $30,900. The next category is the public works. We have once again the town hall trailer mounted generator for $88,421. Under library, replace carpets for $110,643. Public Works is requesting, I believe it's 5 vehicles. Replacement of dump truck number 10 for $215,524. A Toro Groundmaster lawnmower, $117,141. Dump truck number 4 to be replaced, $260,522. The Elgin Street Sweeper at $234,108. Another 1-ton dump truck at $96,188. Another pickup truck to be replaced with a Ford 350 utility body, $58,358. And a flatbed truck to be replaced, $95,311. There is also under highway, annual sidewalk construction, $150,000. Fire station repave the parking lot at $103,950. And crack sealing of the town parking lots is $60,500. Total public works request, $1,590,666. And then we have the school request, which are multiple. The feasibility study for the school building assistant project, which has to do with the high school, $1,260,000. Maple shade steam piping replacement at $449,430. The replacement of portable modular trailer classroom at Mountain View, $1,352,086. High school electrical switchgear distribution panel replacement, $119,115. Meadowbrook parking lot redesign, $186,094. Carpet replacement in library, this is at Birchland Park. Computer rooms and chorus room, $43,900. Resurface the track, and some of the money to come from the athletic revolving fund, $129,983. Mountain View gym floor replacement, $65,000. Renovation is asphalt and playing areas at Maple Shade, $65,208. Roof replacement at Maple Shade, $1,210,978. Mountain View office renovation, $256,539. High school skylight replacing domes and resealing, $20,600. High school furniture, art tables, and cafeteria tables, $166,488, for a total request from the schools at $5,325,421. So the total request, if taken, I have to note that all those recommendations, the requests from the schools were prioritized in numbers 1 through 12. So the general government and school requests, $8,555,790. I would remind everybody that last year we allowed $1,049,635 in capital projects. So there's going to have to be a lot of trimming done. Ryan, are you listening?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the enterprise funds, I'm not sure if this is the status of what's in the funds. Every project that they undertake for replacement comes from the fees that are charged, so I am not going to go through those at this point in time.
I will just make a mention that I appreciate the fact that the schools projects were put in priority ordered district-wide, because I know last year we started off, each building had priority numbers, and it was a little difficult to get an idea which were the most important. So I was pleased to see that it was formatted this way.
Yes. So these were simply for our information at this point in time. Some of you will be working with Ryan as well as Bruce to formulate some recommendations to this committee and to the town manager, mostly the town manager first and then this committee. So for further discussion.
Chris, if I may,
Yes.
Brian, my assumption would be that the format that you're using is one that many people are familiar with from using this in the past. And the ones we currently have in front of us are, I don't know if they match up. So as part of us moving forward with the capital, I'd like to recommend we use the one Ryan presented to the members of the capital planning. And I'm assuming they match up to the ones we have from finance that are on several pages
Yes.
that don't have a lot of information we need.
The ones that I did on that capital summary sheet, that's I got from the raw data from the raw submissions. So there are a few of them that are going to get trimmed off, like the rec department renovation, the planning department ones. I know there was one that really isn't a capital request, but it was in the paperwork, so I figured we'll put it in there. At least then in an open meeting, we can trim it off and direct it the right way.
Okay. But can we work with this in the future? And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
That way, we're all on the same page instead of having to refer back to several documents.
Okay,
Tom, Chris, if I can jump in, Tom, by that, do you mean, what we used to look at was like the 5-year projection and departments put them in certain years? Are you saying to use that format? I just want to make sure I'm reflecting it properly.
You're not going to be able to see it, but this is the format that we've used. And I
Okay.
know it's probably not a good example to show you like this,
Right.
but if I can read across, it's by department. There it is. Thank you, Ryan.
Got it.
Wow.
And it's very helpful in helping to prioritize. And it lists the projects. It lists whether it's infrastructure, public safety, and a new adventure, quality of life, energy efficiency. So there's a lot of things that we need to know so we can help rate these, as Ryan mentioned, going down the road here.
Okay.
And it also gives us a look, a summary look, but also a more detailed look at it across, rather than trying to go back through. I think,
Right.
Chris, what was it, 400 or 500 pages we got from finance? And it's like, I've been doing this for 11 years with capital, and I'm having difficulty going back through all that paperwork that was given to us and trying to match things up. And I don't like that. Also, the 5-year that Kathy mentioned, I think is an important tool that we need. And I believe that's something Ryan was probably going to address in the capital as well.
Yep. Yeah, I do have the 5-year from DPW, the school committee, and IT. So I have those. We can just pull those together and fill in the pieces. I might have one from fire department as well. Just have to go back.
Yeah, well, we have the one that we last worked on, which was, I think, 2017 through 2023.
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
20, and we can certainly use that as a baseline to move forward. That way there are no surprises, and we know what the future is going to look like with regards to our expenditures on the capital side.
Thank you. I know what I need now to express this properly.
okay. We do have an executive session planned, but prior to that, is Amy the only department head we want to speak with next week? I'll speak at once.
Well, Mary will be in attendance, and I think it'd be good suggestions or ideas on with regards to HR planning and the accountant position, to see what monies might be available from those positions that has been put off, and what it might cost us in the future, if anything.
You willing to?
I'm happy to answer or give you my thoughts on any and all of those subjects. We are working in planning with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. They have a land use employee who's already been in touch with Bethany Yao, our administrative assistant. I apologize. They're mowing the lawn outside my office window. I'm sure you can all hear the, the grass is not going to be more than 1/8 of an inch tall if they don't get out of here. I wasn't planning on replacing the planning director's position this fiscal year, because we can work with the Pioneer Valley Planning Board, and they've been very helpful, and the building department staff can assist on the administrative end. So I think we're set there. I do intend to advertise today. The job posting will go up for the Director of Municipal Finance position. That's imperative that we have that. And on HR, I think I spoke at length last meeting, if not the meeting before, about how strongly I felt the need to fill those positions. But, everything can wait. It's not going to end the world if we don't fill it immediately, but sooner rather than later.
No, that's not what I was suggesting, though, Mary. I think, I believe I saw enough heads nodding in the past in discussions with other counselors as well, that the HR position is key to having
Yeah.
you having that level of support that you need, in addition to helping to reduce some of the cost that we've incurred from the lack of an HR director in the past.
Definitely. I agree 100% with that.
Mary, I have a question for you. Last week, we just, in the week prior, I believe also, we discussed that you had received some revisions from departments as to where they might be able to reduce their budgets. Is there any chance that we would have that for our next meeting? I know now that the department is shorthanded, but will they be working on that or towards that?
I would love to tell you they'll be ready for next week, but I don't like to say things that I can't back up. So that department is short-staffed at the moment, and they are also backlogged due to a variety of other things that have occurred. So I wouldn't, I don't think next Wednesday is feasible, in fairness to the people that are in that department right now. If you could
Okay.
go out an extra week, it would be appreciated.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
So Chris, I'm just looking at Kathy's minutes of the two meetings that we went over the departments and which ones we'd review and which ones we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm not exactly sure, like collector treasurer is one we said we would review further. I don't know if that's one that we would want to talk about. I think legal, we had legal and human resources, obviously, which Mary could probably speak to at a later date. I don't know if you wanted to just go through these ones that we said hold and see which ones might be appropriate to ask for next week or.
Yeah, collector treasurer, I can't recall exactly what the issue was. I know there was a 3% increase in the salary line item. I think that was because there was somebody that they wanted a part-time person to go full-time.
We adjusted that. Let me see my notes here. Sorry. Oh, they're starting up the mower again. Hold on. I'm going to mute myself for a moment.
I could hear it that time, Mary.
Yeah, on legal services, we felt that needed further discussion, but down the road, I think as we see how the revenues are, I think that's a postponement of,
Right.
because we were talking that actually 200,000 be more realistic than the 140, but depends on what we'll be able to afford. Information technology.
Before we move on, Chris,
Yeah.
from those, I know we had a discussion with Mary regarding the insurances and with our Sarah in the past, and the huge increases that we started to incur.
Yeah.
And I know it's a difficult thing for Mary to take on without an HR person at this time with all of the other responsibilities and with this pandemic going on. But I've spoke to a few insurance savvy people, and this is something that we could ask our insurer to do. And this is something they do all the time for other companies and municipalities. They can provide this service at no cost to us to provide us this kind of information so we know what our history has been, why the costs are going up, and what potential we have for savings going forward.
Now, are you speaking of the health and life insurance or the liability insurance? Which one?
All of those,
All of them.
and the workers' comp especially.
Yeah, the question on that was, yes, the claims history and so forth.
Yeah, and I know Mary didn't, and I appreciate her position, and I know that's not something she can actively take on, but all I think, from what I'm hearing, it takes is a phone call to say, here's what we're looking for. Please do it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a valid suggestion. I had that in my notes as well. So I think at some future time, what I'd like to do is do the smaller ones. You know, we've had there's some proposed reductions in the recreation budget, in the library budget. I know that the public safety budget as well. So if we can't get those numbers until May 13th, I think we'll just be content with talking with Emmy about both the trash collection and the landfill next week.
Just so you know, my plan, I have to sit with each department head because I don't know if all of those changes have been uploaded, and the certain files were not available to the current interim town accountant. So I need to sit with, I don't want to redo things if they've already been done, but I have to sit with each department head and make sure. They have eight departments: recreation, police, clerk's office, fire department, DPW, building, treasurer, and assessor, all of whom have indicated that there will be reductions in their budgets. I just need to sit with all those people and make sure that we upload the proper information so that your committee doesn't spend time reviewing numbers that have changed or will change.
Right.
And that's why I need a little extra time. And just also to Tom's point, I have received overtures from several insurance industry representatives seeking an opportunity to reevaluate the town's position. And I'd love to sit with all of them too. But I'm not going to have a chance to do that in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So
Understood.
maybe if we deferred that discussion till a little bit later, I might have some information that would be helpful.
Absolutely, Mary. We know you've got a full plate. And now I'd like to take a roll call vote to go into executive session for the discussion on strategy for negotiations with bargaining units within the town. Diane,
Could I, so we want to leave open session and enter into executive session and
Yes,
only return back into open session for the purpose of scheduling of the department head meetings and adjournment.
I don't think we'll be talking about number 7. We already spoke on that. So we're going to go into executive session, reconvene in open session only to adjourn.
I'll second that motion then.
Okay. Diane Bishop,
Yes.
Tom O'Connor,
Yes.
Kathy Hill,
Yes.
Jim Broderick.
Yes.
Who did I miss? Michael Kane,
Yes.
Christine Sonier, yes. Ryan, and we're back in open session?
You're back and open.
Okay. We are back in open session, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn and I will remind everyone that we are meeting next Wednesday again at 10 a.m.
I move to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Second.
Okay.
Diane, second.
Jim? All in
Yes.
favor? Yes. Kathy?
Yes.
No, you're non-voting.
Oh, I don't need to vote on this one.
Diane?
Yes.
Bishop?
Yes.
Mike Kane?
Yes.
Christine Sonier, yes. Okay, see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.